How's it going, YouTube? Peshcats here. Today we're going to be taking a look at my Contact Collection deck, which I used at my locals last Friday. It went 5-0. Very pleased with how the deck played. If you guys want to go ahead and check out the tournament report on my blog, I will leave a link down in the description box, which you guys can check out later. But for now, we're going to be taking a look at the deck list. Now, this deck is quite linear and simple to understand. During the level 0 stage of the game, you have two main goals, one of them being hand fixing. This can be accomplished with cards like the Harasame, Drum Barrel, and Akashi. You can search for the cards you need at the later stage of the game. And the other goal during the level 0 and 1 game is to build stock, which you can use later on for other things. At the level 2, you want to be playing your Haguro Kaini and her Climax combo. It allows you to search your deck for free for whatever cards you need for the late game. And in doing this, you're also compressing your deck so that you can cancel more easily. And then once you hit level 3, you have a Hyuga Kai for a clock shoot, or Mutsu if you need heals. So it's a very straightforward deck strategy. Now let's get into the individual cards of the deck. So for the level 0, I run 18 cards in level 0. First up, we have Tanikaze. She's a runner. At the start of my opponent's attack phase, I can move her to the front row center slot. So the opponent needs to invest in 2 columns, one on the side and one in the center, if he wants to kill her. And if he cannot deal with her, then on my following turn, I can use her to attack again to deal more damage and build more stock without having to play more cards in my hand. So that's just the role of the runner, to stay alive and build more stock and make it so that I don't have to use cards in my hand. She can just stay alive. Next up, I run 4 copies of Ushio Kai. She's a clock suicider. So if she's reversed by a level 0 character, I can heal my opponent for 1 damage and then send the opponent's level 0 to the clock. So this gets around abilities that are on reverse or on death. So a couple examples from Contact Collection are Inazuma and Hibiki. Inazuma needs to be sent to the waiting room in order to activate her search effect, so by sending it to clock, I can prevent my opponent from setting up for their level 1 game. Same goes for Hibiki. She has to be reversed, so if I suicide with the Ushio, then I can send Hibiki to clock before she can use her own ability and send herself to memory. So this prevents my opponent from not only setting up an anti-heal, but also from getting out a Verni in the early stages of the game. And this deck, because the power levels in the early level are so low, even a Verni might be too high for this deck to handle. So this is definitely good to counter the Hibiki. Next up, for my choice card, I run 4 copies of Hatsukaze. She has a 500 global for all ship girls, and of course the infamous anti-salvage ability. If either player salvages a character during the attack phase, that player's characters all lose 3 soul until the end of the turn. So this is a very good way to prevent your opponent from getting a lot of card advantage through salvages, whether it's by a climax combo such as Tenryu Kai or just gate trigger climaxes. Next up, for the level 0, I run 4 copies of Harasame. She is kind of like Akatsuki, A Moment in Winter from the second Conclave set, but slightly different. First of all, she has an assist 500. So if I need to, I can stick her in the back row. And her other ability is, on play, I can discard 1 card to salvage a Drum Barrel event from my waiting room. So the reason I choose this over Akatsuki is mainly because of the versatility that Harasame allows this deck to have. Not only is she a hand fix by salvaging the Drum Barrel, but she's also a 500 assist, which is something Akatsuki does not have. So if I need a back row character, I can always just put the Harasame back there. And yeah, she serves that purpose. And another thing that she has different from the Akatsuki is that when you play Akatsuki, you have to use the top 4 check ability immediately, whereas with this card, you can discard a card, salvage a Drum Barrel, and you don't have to use the Drum Barrel immediately. You can save it for later if you want. And the thing about this card is that compared to Akatsuki, yes, you have to have the Drum Barrel in your waiting room already in order to use the ability, but it's not very hard to get one in there, whereas Akatsuki, you just play the Akatsuki and then use the ability. It's not hard to get a Drum Barrel into the waiting room. You can clock one during the early stages of the game, or mulligan one, or if one just gets sent to your clock in your first level of damage, then That's how you can get a drum barrel into the waiting room. Alternatively, you can just draw into a drum barrel and use it, and then play Harsame, and then you basically get a second drum barrel use. So yeah, I like this card a lot. Definitely helps with this deck's theme of hand fixing during the early game. You definitely want to be setting up for your Hagro Kainese as quickly as possible. And lastly, to finish off the level 0 line, I run 2 copies of Asagumo. She has a startup ability, rest 2 characters to choose a ship girl and give it 1000 power until the end of the opponent's turn. So this is relevant at basically every stage of the game. During the level 0, I can use this on a Tanakaze runner to make it more difficult for my opponent to handle. Not only do they have to commit to 2 columns on their field to try to kill the Tanakaze, but if I can boost her to a higher power level and make it harder for my opponent to kill, then that just makes it that much easier for me to keep the Tanakaze on the field and use it next turn for building more stock and dealing more damage. During the late stages of the game, this Asagumo has synergy with my Hyuga Kai, which is my clock shooter. Makes it a lot easier for me to get the high enough power level that I need to reverse whatever my opponent puts onto the field. So yeah, just an overall good card. It has good scaling into the late game, and I just like the card. Now moving on to the level 1s, I'm running 13 level 1s, 9 characters and 4 events. So starting off, we have 4 copies of the Ashigara. She's a vanilla Clock Encore, that's her only ability. She's just kind of there if I need characters on the board still. With 5k power, obviously it's not that high, but during the level 0 and level 1, because the power of our characters is so low, there's a chance that we might run low on cards to play and to attack with. So having the Ashigara to Clock Encore is a nice little option to just retain cards on the board. Next up we have one of the MVPs of the deck, Akashi. Her first ability is a Global 500 to all ship girls, and her second ability, which I feel is very, very, very strong, is pay 2 and rest her, startup ability, to search your deck for any ship girl and add it to your hand. So going into the later stages of the game, once you start playing out your Hagro Kainese and searching with her ability, if you can retain those Hagro Kainese on the board, this deck doesn't have very much use for stock. So you can use Akashi Kai to thin your deck out 1 card every turn. Not only does that make it easier for you to cancel by thinning out your deck, but you can also use her ability as almost like a replacement for clocking. So you draw 1 card for turn, and then you search 1 card with Akashi, and then you have the same amount of cards in your hand as if you would have clocked, but you don't have to deal 1 damage to yourself. Also, you get to search for the exact card you want instead of clocking to try and get the cards that you want, and you might draw into like a bunch of climaxes or something like that. So yeah, Akashi, just an overall very good card in this deck. I'm considering bumping it to 3. And another MVP of the deck, Akashi Kai. She has an assist ability. Ship girl characters in front of her get 500 power and hand encore. So this is useful with the Hagro Kaini, which I will get to in a sec. And her other ability is a climax combo with this +2 soul. When I play the +2 soul climax, if I have exactly 1 card in my clock, I can heal. So goes with Akashi's theme in the actual Contact Collection game of repairing lightly damaged ships. With this climax combo, you can heal a lightly damaged player. Now, running the +2 soul is quite important for this deck, since all of the characters at level 1 and lower are very low power. The +2 souls allow me to punch for damage through side attacking in the early stages of the game. And by side attacking with all my low power characters, it also allows me to take less damage since my opponent has to front attack into my level 0s instead of direct attacking if I were to just suicide my level 0s. So just +2 soul synergizes, or not synergizes, but makes up for this deck's lack of early game power. And the fact that it climax combos with a card like Akashi Kai is very good as well. I run 1 copy of the Ashigara counter. She's a 2/5 counter as long as the character is a ship girl. So everything in this deck. Now this is just kind of like another way for me to punch more damage. If they attack my character and they are within counter range, I can use the counter, and on the following turn they have an open column on their field, which allows me to direct attack and deal more soul damage. This is another way the deck makes up for its overall low early game power level by using a counter and using and taking advantage of the open column that it leaves behind to hit for more damage. And lastly, for the level 1, I run 4 copies of the all-important Drum Barrel. When I play the event, I look at up to 4 cards on the top of my deck, choose a Ship Girl trait character, and add it to my hand, and then send the rest of them to the waiting room. So this, combined with the Harasame, is a very important component of the deck in searching for the cards you need. Let's say you open with a bunch of level 3s or something. You can play a Drum Barrel, look for some level 1s or level 0s, play Harasame, discard the level 3s, get another barrel. You get the point. It's just an overall good card for fixing my hand in this deck. And the main card that we're going to want to be looking for during the level 1 stage of the game is this Haguro Kaini. This is the key card of the deck. This is what brings everything together. So for her first ability, she has a Climax combo with this Pants Climax. When I play the Climax, I can search my deck for any Ship Girl trait character for free. So by searching for multiple copies of the Haguro Kaini during the early stages of the game, and just getting the Gate Climax into your hand, once you hit level 2, you can slap all of them down, play that Climax, thin your deck out, get whatever you need for the later stages of the game, level 3, whatnot. And you just compress the deck, and if you can keep drawing into Gate Climaxes and keep these Haguro Kainis alive, you can continue to search and search and search and compress your deck over and over and over again. Now, to keep these alive on the field, you have 2 ways to do it. So first one is with Haguro Kaini's second ability. She acts as a sort of field counter. When she's on the stage, if another character is being attacked, you can send her to the waiting room to give a 3k buff to whatever's being attacked. So this also costs no stock, which is important for the second piece of the combo, which is the combination with Akashi Kai. So Akashi Kai gives hand encore to characters in front of her. So if you send Haguro Kaini to the waiting room for her field counter ability, you can hand encore her back to the stage with Akashi Kai. This effectively turns every character card in your hand into a 3k counter for no stock, and it is a very powerful combo if you can set this whole thing up. Another cool thing about this is, let's say your opponent reverses one of your Haguro Kaini, and they're attacking your second Haguro Kaini. You can use the first one, which is already reversed. You can use her ability, send her to the waiting room for the 3k buff, but then when you hand encore her, she comes back to the stage in rest position, which means you're getting basically a 2-for-1 out of that counter. So it's a very high value combo, and this just makes Haguro Kaini a very high value card overall in this deck, and this is why I feel that she is the key card in this deck's success. Now, the other card for the level 2 that I run is a Zuikaku Kai counter. She is a 2500 counter, and her other ability is when I use her backup ability, I mill the top card of my deck. If that card is a Climax, the opponent gets -1 soul. So obviously milling a Climax is not the best thing in the world, but if it's not a Climax, then you do get one step closer to your next Climax in terms of where the Climaxes are in your deck. If it is a Climax, at least you get the -1 soul as like a consolation prize. Obviously milling a Climax is not the best, but at least this is better, in my opinion, than the Ryuho Kai Climax, which is a mill 3. If you mill 3 and then you mill 3 Climaxes, you don't really get anything back. So the Zuikaku Kai, in my opinion, is better than the Ryuho in that respect. Now finally, moving on to the level 3, I run 6. So first off, we have 3 copies of the Hyuga Kai. Her first ability is irrelevant since I don't run Isekai in this deck, but her second and third ability are the ones that we want to take a look at. First off, she has a Clock Shoot ability. When she comes into play, I can discard 1 card, and if I do, she gets 1000 power and a Clock Shot ability until the end of the turn. And her final ability is once per turn, if I use a startup ability, I get a 1k buff. So the startups that I run in this deck are the Akashi, pay 2 rest this to search your deck, as well as the Asagumo. This is why I said the Asagumo has relevance in the late stages of the game. So when you combine Hyuga Kai's Clock Shot ability giving her 1000, as well as Asagumo's ability giving her 1000, and her last ability giving another 1000, she can get very, very big, and it makes clock shooting with the Hyuga Kai that much easier. Our other level 3 that we run is the Mutsu Kai. the healer from the second set, on play heal, and when another Ship Girl character attacks, she gets plus 1k buff. So it's just a simple healer, nothing too special here. So yeah, this is the deck. As I said, the strategy of the deck is very linear, very simple. You just want to search for your level 2, and then you kind of just sit on the level 2 until the end of the game. By using her Climax combo, as well as Akashi's ability to search the deck, you can use those over and over and over again to just compress the deck more and more, and it makes it very easy to cancel. I found a lot of my games, I hit level 2, and then I just sit at level 2 for a long time. And then sometimes I can even just finish my opponent off while I'm still at level 2. So there you have it, guys. That is my Contact Collection deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any comments or questions, you guys can go leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll see if I can answer those for you. But for now, this has been Peshkats. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.